Welcome to the module which will discuss computer attack methods. We will try to get an overview of the attack process in situations where the target is a typical computer system. The issues we will mention in this module will be discussed in more detail later on. Knowledge about attack methods is necessary to develop effective protective measures. In order to create a security policy, we need more than just what we mentioned before, which is assessment of resources and consequences of their loss. We also need to know attack methods. Cyber attackers developed these methods years ago, but they are constantly being updated and refined. What characterizes attack methods in general? Gathering information about a prospective target is the first phase. The information attackers are interested in may concern a certain system in general, or users of that system. The more information they manage to gather, the easier it is for them to conduct a successful attack. By successful attack, we mean one that achieves its aims and remains undetected for a sufficiently long period of time. The next phase of the attack is looking for entry points. Entry points are elements of the system which allow direct interaction with a user or the system. One of the most common forms of attack is gaining access to a computer system and tracking the data flow. In local networks, lots of data is sent as plain text and many resources are not sufficiently protected. Very often, such resources and data could be classified as sensitive, private, or confidential, and prove useful for an attacker. After gaining control over a system, the attacker will try to ensure that they will be able to access it again. This means they'll try to get administrator privileges. They will also try to hide traces of the attack, because the longer it goes undetected, the more beneficial it is for the attacker. First, we will consider a very distinctive category of attacks. That is, local attacks. They are very successful for one simple reason. Most of the popular security solutions do not protect computers against local attacks. As we've mentioned before, no computer program, which includes operating systems, can fulfill its function when it's switched off. If you run another operating system on the computer, you will get access to all data stored on every hard drive unless the data is encrypted. How can we get protected against local attacks? Technological solutions prove ineffective. The only effective solution is a security policy. A successful security policy will include careful control over who gets access to the computers. One of the most basic security measures for companies is to prevent unauthorized people from entering the premises. Everyone on the premises must be required to authenticate their identity. Usually, each employee is required to carry an ID badge that proves his or her identity. Moreover, there are ID badges for visitors. The problem is that a typical visitor badge is all too easy to fake. It's just a white piece of plastic with the large word visitor written over it. Everyone can make one for themselves. Making a unique ID badge for every visitor would be inefficient, but even a guest ID badge must be made hard to fake. A person wearing such a badge looks more trustworthy. You should also keep an eye on staff that work on the premises, but are not your direct employees. This may include contract workers such as plumbers, electricians, or telecommunications specialists. Remember that a uniform is not necessarily proof of anything. Nowadays, it's relatively easy to get almost any kind of uniform. Some may dress themselves as a postman or a chimney sweep in order to reinforce their fake identity. To counter this danger, give your employees clear guidelines on how to act when they spot a stranger on the premises. An employee should approach the stranger and offer to help in looking for a specific person or department. Strangers should not be allowed to walk freely on the premises. A stranger who manages to gain physical access to a computer can get full control over it. There are some other basic mistakes we should always avoid. One of them is allowing access to BIOS settings. BIOS settings allow you to control the computer startup. Therefore, access to BIOS should be restricted. This can be done by using a password other than the default. We will discuss the issue of default passwords later on. So control who enters the premises and protect BIOS settings from unwanted changes. Also, it's not advisable to boot up a computer from CD. Sometimes this may be a default option, but it's possible that it was set by a potential attacker. Moreover, it should not be easy to open up a system unit. When someone gets access to the hard drive, they can make a clone of it. It's hard to protect your computer against such manipulation. However, a user or an administrator should be able to tell whether the computer was compromised in such a way. Normally, you should not leave computer cases open.